My name is Hugh Slattery. I'm an Irish missionary of the Sacred Heart. I've been Bishop of Tzaneen diocese since 1984. This diocese is in the province of Limpopo, the northeastern corner of South Africa. We have the most people in the world living with AIDS here in South Africa. We're over 6 million at the moment, which is a purely shocking figure actually out of about 45 million people.
Ka morago ga legola monna wa ka ke ile ka pelo ka ile ba bothoko kudu-kudu ke ile ka kopotsa gore ke mafelelo a bophelo ke ile ka kopotsa gore nka se ka kgona go phela go ya pele ene nka se kgone go godisa bana ba ka mara ba family ya ka mo monna ka ba ile ba nkuka ba kgona go nthusa ka tse dingwe tse bana ba ka ba sentse gore ba di dinyakwa tša bana ba ka le tša family ya ka ke ile ka ba le manaba a mantši a mangwe a gore swantse ke re ke tswe ka mogare ga ntlo mara ke ile ka rapela gore modimo a nthuse ke fenye mathata ka moka ona a tang ka morago ga legola monna wa ka.
In the beginning, it sounded a bit funny because when we spoke about AIDS, people misinterpreted it and said so many funny things about it. I remember, young people, when we spoke about AIDS, they used to laugh. And we had this doctor from DRC, Dr. Cardinal. I remember him saying to us, here in South Africa, at the moment, you are sowing the seeds of AIDS. 10 years to come, you'll be reaping. So eventually from there, people started to get sick and they started to die. It's then that I realized the reality of it.
Moradi ya o ke yo morena modimo wa ka nko mo kwele botlhoko papa botlhoko bja boto mo mmeleng o bontšhe morena le modimo wa ka gobane ke moradi ya gago tshepile wena o bodile wena le rena ka moka re tshepile wena re bodile wena modimo papa modimo mora modimo wa galena mo ineng la gago le botsela Jesu Kriste le mpholosi wa rena amen.
Two months ago we buried 3 teachers, a doctor and a lawyer, all the education, and a nurse in the village up there. Now they're opening graves 4 and 5 at a time. So it's a huge problem and the people are in denial. They don't want to talk about it. But there's so many dying and so many funerals. well, they'll have to begin to talk about it, and to do something about it.
I see HIV/AIDS as a fire out of control. The figures back that up for South Africa. There's no doubt, or at least in sub-Saharan Africa, with 60% of the world's AIDS cases so far counted. It's an enormous burden. So I think it is a fire out of control.
Even though her life was short, we come together to pray and to give her a Christian burial because of her faith. Our bodies are made of clay. Each one of us, when we die, our bodies will return to dust. But inside this human body of ours, this earthen vessel, is God's Spirit. Our sister Tinyiko today, like many other young people, are leaving life very early. And we all seem helpless as we watch sickness taking the young lives of many people.
It was a threat to a whole civilization. It's a threat to our future. It's a question of, will there be generations around here in the future? AIDS is so, it's kind of a big stop sign saying, look, you stop there. If you carry on like this, you're going to die out. So it sounds pessimistic put that way, but really it is massive. You look at the numbers.
Ndiyalwala achina buchiro habude haba bana abanengwe badaduba lingwe na lingwe bachidisa zitabe ene ndi mutu wenda pelelwa nga bana haba bana abanengwe bari ari chisiwa nani ndofelwa nga bana bote ndosala na zidulu zwene hezu zitukupedza hapa mudeni ndi madumbani mara abanengu dapa mashikani atingulube musibo dabana haba ndipfandi sichahumbula na bana banga haba bararu bofaho bosi abana ndipfandi chihumbula bana haba duba limwe na limwe vanoda vachimpa zviliwa zva Yesu Kriste unga ovambiwa chipambanoni achivambelwa nne.
We're a deeply wounded country, I think, and it's important to keep that in mind. All races here have been affected by our past history, and AIDS came so quickly after the transition. It really came in a very, very big way, this whole AIDS pandemic, and has kind of shocked people from the past. We're trying to recover from apartheid, ravages and pain, and suddenly this hits.
The type of life that most people lead here has changed tremendously. You know, of now lately we have a lot of, kids drinking.
That most of them are involved in that, they go around in shebeens drinking, So in most occasions when that happens, because that's when they lose the control of themselves.
We no longer have that peaceful life that we used to have in the beginning because of this drinking habit of the kids. There are a lot of beer outlets, say shebeens and taverns. The core problem is lack of guidance from the parents. Our parents hardly have time for their kids. They hardly guide them, especially on sex. It is taboo in our culture for the parents to talk about sex with their kids.
It's a huge challenge. One can, I suppose, understand what young people are up against when you consider that recently in Africa a campaign has been launched, mainly in Uganda, I think, to destigmatize abstinence and virginity and fidelity. It sounds awful, it sounds shocking actually, that there should be a stigma around abstinence, purity, chastity, respect for one's own body, respect for sexuality, the power of giving life.
When we look at the issue of moral regeneration, where we are thinking of, going back to our roots and checking as to what actually was happening in the past, how were the people behaving themselves in the past, because it will actually help us to learn that, we used to actually regard this, the issue of sex as very much sacred. We used to know that, sex actually is meant for people who are married.
In the past, in African culture, fidelity in marriage was expected, adultery was frowned upon, polygamy was allowed, but the man would be faithful to his various wives. Having children outside of wedlock was frowned upon and penalized. Guilty party had to pay some fine, cattle and so on, and marry the girl and so on. And all this is broken down. And the worst of the West is coming in to compound the kind of breakdown. Of course, that's contributed in a large degree to the breakdown of the kind of sexual morality in Africa.
Bernadette, with the Education for Life program, you've been involved for a long time now. How did the program start? Where did Education for Life come from?
Okay, Education for Life originates in Uganda. Sister Kay Lawler and Sister Miriam Dugan, and they had been going around the schools telling the young people that things are not okay because they've got this high rate of HIV and AIDS. And they kept giving them statistics and, they were bombarding them with facts and figures and knowledge. And at one stage they went into one of the schools and the principal actually said, look, don't come back here. You are just distressing us. Huh? And they went away with that and they really thought to themselves, gosh, what are we going to do? Because through that comment, they really realized that knowledge is not enough. Knowledge doesn't change behavior. So they went off, obviously, and had a good reflection and came back. And they came back with this whole methodology of Jared Egan. And it's a 3-stage or phase program. And it basically moves from where the reality of life is now to the desired behavior where young people would love to be. And then actually taking steps to get there.
It's only in the recent times in the Western world that somehow this whole issue of undermining of marriage has taken place, and we live in a kind of a Western secularism which devalues marriage, and we have very little time for what we're trying to promote. And so the family is so important, so powerful in every area of life, and we have to promote that. And that would be the ultimate answer to AIDS, both as regards prevention of the spread of the disease and also the care of those who are affected by the disease, that family members, parents will accept their members who are affected by this disease, and often they have great problems around that area of actually coming to terms with its youngest son or young daughter that's put through school, perhaps university, maybe already having a good job, and suddenly the young person that they've just brought up, reared them for the future, and now they're preparing them for death. And that's a very, it's very difficult and very hard. So that's what's happened. That's the reality here in many of our families.
The difficulties that we meet when we visit people in the households, their families, one of the problems is they hide their patients. So they don't give us a chance to visit them, to see them, and try to help them. In some of the families, I try to involve the family members, the brother, the father, the sister, the mother, to come together and join our ideas on how are we going to help this dying person.
If each and every member of the church, or each and every member of the community, starting from the small Christian communities, we can be involved. Not saying this belongs to this particular group. There are coordinators that have been employed by the church, but me, myself, even if I'm not employed by the church, I know that there are people in my community who are suffering. If I can actually get involved and see as to how can I be of assistance to those people.
I am visiting every day the people. I take care of all those who are really very sick, who are on treatment, who are strong side effects. And I am also doing some nutrition program.
Macheloni. Oitahani. Rione.
In my office, I am giving advices, what kind of food they should take, what strengthens their immune system. And with any problem, they are always welcome in my office. Since 22 years, I am a nun. I'm a Catholic nun, and I am a happy nun. I would like to die also as a nun because I love God. God gives me a strength in my everyday life and in my contact with different type of people, especially with those who are suffering. And I believe strongly in mercy of God. And this mercy I try to bring also to those who need them, to my HIV positive, to the children, to the old people, and to my own community.
The church naturally has to be concerned about HIV and AIDS because so many of its own members are affected, and also because of the church's commitment, particularly in South Africa, where we have defined ourselves as a community serving humanity, and the aspect of serving humanity is looking precisely at the areas where humanity is suffering and needs the care of the church.
Every morning I try to wake up, then I pray. When I pray in my prayer all the time, I just ask in the Mary so that she can help me so that I can work for the people. I got the power now to have the sympathy to other people. Mother Teresa, what she did, she tried to look for the suffering people. And I found especially our people is very hard. Who is going to look for the suffering people? According to the law of God, they say you must love your neighbor as you love yourself. If one is suffering, it's like affecting you are suffering. It's not you alone.
The difficult part, I think, is when you go out there and you find the patient lying on the bed, helpless. that's the difficult situation. And immediately you meet the patient, you can see that he's critically ill. That's the very bad thing. And at the end of the day, when I'm relaxed at home, I think about it. And I feel I'm sick. I'm also sick. I've realized that I have developed some kind of a unique relationship with these people that every day when I visit them, I just don't visit them as like I'm saying I'm visiting patients. I'm visiting my friends every day.
It's a very busy program because there are many people who are now starting to realise a little bit more that there is benefit in coming to the clinic. Treatment is available, the treatment is effective, and results are being seen. So people who were sort of hiding and not being very confident to come forward are starting to. So the clinic is getting busier and busier. But unfortunately, it's still only a small percentage of the overall number.
Thanks for the smile. Don't forget the breath. Next one.
There are so many children suffering in different parts of the diocese, and we just began really in faith. We believed that God wanted this project, and we more or less left it to Him. We have never refused a child, and an extraordinary thing is that when we get to our numbers become full, we can't take any more, then suddenly another child might go home, or there's always somehow a place, a space.
You might see in the background here there's quite a strong focus on children. We do lots of holiday programs where we try to bring them together to play and to make simple things. We're using masks, and the mask was to explain how we hide our feelings. We pretend things are nice, but underneath we're really sad. So we have the mask here to try to help the children understand that there are feelings hidden underneath the one you show on your face. A lot of the little children have to nurse their parents. And that's the vomiting, the diarrhea, the fevers, the groaning pains, all the things that we as adults would find difficult in having to face when we're nursing a dying patient. But we have children as little as 6 and 9 and 12 who are dealing with this. And we want them to feel proud that they did the best they could. We have to do the healing of the heart. And that's because we want to build children into balanced adults who will actually be able to continue developing this country, but more importantly, taking their rightful place as human beings with dignity.